Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all again, whether you're joining us on Zoom, Facebook Live, or YouTube. I'd like to also take this time to wish a happy Lunar New Year for anyone who does celebrate. So today is Sunday, February the 21st. We'll have Ven.Nicholas Thanissaro guiding meditation today and giving a bit of wisdom. The topic is something worth believing. Wonder what that's going to be about. Before we get started with our wonderful stretching, I'd like to just share with you all 3 cool events that are happening soon. The first one takes place at 3 p.m. today. It is called The Importance of Makabusha Day. So there is a e-card on our Facebook page, so please check it out so you can get a little bit of background as to what this event is. We will be having a virtual session that is at the same time in Thailand at 3 a.m. tonight for the Makabusha candle lighting. So if you attend the 3 p.m. session, you'll know exactly why it's such a fulfilling thing to attend at 3 a.m. if you are available and awake. And last but not least, we have a full moon meditation on Friday the 26th. So that's coming Friday. It'll be 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time. So a lot of these e-cards are available on our website, on our Facebook page. And we do have, we have somebody raising their hand. Okay. So a lot of these are on our Facebook site, and you can also check out our weekly meditation. We have something going on Sunday through Friday. So this is available on our website as well, but also on our Facebook site. If you are available, please join us for some very short meditation sessions so we can just start the day or end the day on a nice note, continue the week on a nice note. So before we start our meditation, there is a brief stretching, so let's see if we're ready to go.
The next few poses will be done in a standing position. Please move slowly and at your own pace. Keep the sturdy chair nearby for balance if needed. If you find that I'm talking faster than you are moving, please take your time and do fewer repetitions. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Place the feet about hips width apart and grounded on the floor. Lift the toes and spread them nice and wide and feel the navel pull gently in towards the spine. Push the toes into the floor and lean forward just a little bit. Feel the muscles that keep you steady. Lean back just a little bit and feel the toes come up. Feel the muscles that keep you steady in this position. Now push all 4 corners of the feet into the floor. Notice the steadiness of mountain pose. Notice how the steadiness of mountain pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink into the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. And on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. Return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side, return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Did everyone have a nice stretch? So before we begin the meditation, I just wanted to introduce Venerable Nicholas for anyone who might be a little new to the program. So today, Venerable Nicholas Thanissaro will be guiding us in meditation and giving us a short talk about something worth believing. Venerable Nicholas has been pioneering and teaching meditation since 1997, and he is from the United Kingdom. He has had several guest television appearances, audio CDs, books, book translations, and academic articles to his name. He is also a United Kingdom Complementary Medical Association qualified teacher of meditation. We are lucky enough to have him with our temple. So I hope you can gain some nice wisdom from him today. Just listen carefully to what he has to share. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you guys at one of our other sessions later tonight, or later today, and on Friday.
Welcome back to the 23rd online episode of Peacetime, hosted every Sunday morning by Peacepoint, with myself, Ven.Nicholas Thanissaro, live streaming from Dhammakaya International Meditation Center in Azusa, California. Today's session will be about an hour and 10 minutes long, and will consist of a 25-minute talk and 20 minutes of meditation, finishing up with 25 minutes of conclusion and news updates. Last time you saw me, we looked at getting out of your head and into your life. The topic for the Dhamma talk today, continuing with our theme about the defilements of ignorance, will be some things worth believing. Again, this session I would encourage you to send in any questions you have by emailing me at peacetime.questions@gmail.com so that I can have a shot at answering them next time round. As mentioned in the previous session, delusion is the third major group of defilements. Ignorance is also the root of desire and hatred. Ignorance has the character of being very damaging and also takes a long time to overcome it. Not knowing that you don't know is the most frightening thing about ignorance. If you do something without understanding, you will keep on making the same mistakes without end. It is very hard even to know where to start dealing with ignorance if one has not yet become proficient in meditation. Even when you have become proficient, to eradicate ignorance still takes a lot of perseverance. Delusion is like a darkness in the mind that causes us to see right things as wrong and wrong things as right, like generosity, which everyone knows is good and encourages people to help one another. But some people are overcome by delusion and therefore say that generosity is bad because it encourages the recipients to be lazy. Delusion can also be manifested in dull-mindedness and lethargy. Over the last few sessions, we have already looked at aspects of ignorance, and similar to today's topic, we have examined beliefs about ourselves and our potential. Today we come to look at our beliefs about the nature of existence to see how negativity can interfere with our worldviews. At best, the negative views, worldview, mindset, or beliefs we have can cut us off from empathy or connection with others. At worst, extreme beliefs, views, worldview, or mindset can cut you off from the pathway to enlightenment. False view is the coarsest and most insidious form of delusion. It includes all forms of belief that stand in the way of our mental cultivation or spiritual transformation. Because even to try to improve the quality of one's life by meditation relies on some quite basic underlying assumptions, namely that we have a philosophy of life at all is something worthwhile, or that you yourself really exist, that you are a changeable entity, that it is possible to change yourself through your own efforts, that self-training and not fate is what dictates your destiny, and that the things which you do, like meditation, are really actions, that those actions really have an effect, temporary or permanent, and you are doing the right thing by purifying the mind and not the body. There have been historical precedents for those lacking these assumptions or even celebrating their opposites. It is unlikely that people with such beliefs would ever sign up for a meditation course. However, even though you may have avoided the worst of these forms of false view, don't get complacent because, from time to time, we are still prone to some erroneous assumptions. In order for us to maintain a healthy mindset, it's certainly useful to have certain sorts of attitudes to life. For any of you familiar with the Eightfold Path, you will recognize view as being the first step on the path of spiritual transformation. If we have a sort of blindness to these questions, especially the eternal questions about life, then you could say that you have succumbed to ignorance in one form or another. There are problematic attitudes to life which may make up a lot of difficulties for you either to initiate a spiritual quest or find satisfactory meaning in life. In fact, there are countless forms of misplaced views about existence. There are as many as 62 mentioned in the Brahmajala Sutta of the Buddhist Digha Nikaya scripture. But with an eye on the time available, I will focus on just 8 common ones to which people succumb. The first form of false view is fear of any standpoint. So, to give a worked example, ask yourself how you go about making important decisions in your life. If you never trust someone with principles, thinking they are overconfident in themselves, in such a case you are suffering from fear of any standpoint. In ancient India, such a worldview was known as Amaravikepaditti. If you are not subject to this form of wrong view, your attitude to making important decisions in your life would be to give a good principle the benefit of the doubt, or adhere to the best principle available for any situation. In practice, even if you have it on the best authority that meditation will give you transcendental experience, you will only believe it 99% of the time. We always have some doubts because even if we trust advice implicitly, it is never as convincing as experiencing it firsthand. So in the meantime, you have to give things the benefit of the doubt, or else you cannot profit from the best advice. So although dogma is generally unpopular, as fans of the Kalama Sutta will point out, make sure that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater by rejecting ideas indiscriminately. The second form of false view is known as denial of existence. To give a worked example, supposing one day everyone in your office pretends that you don't exist. They don't interact with you and talk over your head like you're not there. If you think they're probably right, as nothing you do seems to have any effect anyway, or that essentially you don't really exist because you're no more than a collection of atoms, in such a case you are suffering from denial of existence. In ancient India, such a worldview is known as Natikaditti. If you are not subject to this form of wrong view, your attitude to being treated like you don't exist would be to continue to believe in your existence regardless of whether people acknowledge your existence or not. In this connection, going back to June 1998, I met a Russian who sincerely believed that our whole spirit was just a part of the cellular movement of our body. So there's nothing more than the body itself. So when you die, the whole of you just returns to atoms or whatever. If you have this sort of philosophy that life is just random noise in your neurons, then it would lead you to treat other people in a very inhumane way. The so-called principle of antinomianism, or crazy wisdom, where people believe they are so holy that they can do no wrong. So to appreciate what is human about other people, I think you have to give them credit for being alive as being something more than just the atoms that comprise them. Otherwise, we can suffer from nihilism and reduction of the universe into a very mechanistic and unfriendly place. The third form of wrong view is known as belief in the unchangeability of self and circumstances. Eternalism, in other words. So, to give a worked example, supposing you were born into a poor family, when you grow up, you end up being poor like the rest of your family. If you think your poverty is inevitable, that you were destined to be poor, that you can't do anything to change the situation, or it's hereditary, in such a case you are suffering from belief in the unchangeability of self and circumstances. In ancient India, such a worldview is known as Sasataditi. If you are not subject to this form of wrong view, your attitude to changing self and circumstances would be to ask yourself whether you have picked up some of the bad habits from your upbringing that perpetuate your poverty, or whether if you tried to change your life, you could improve your standard of living. If you don't think you can change anything, then what's the point of trying? So many ideas behind spiritual transformation are based on the fact that you can do something to change if you're not satisfied with yourself. That if you ever lose touch with that hope, then it's tantamount to giving in and you may as well just roll over and die. The fourth form of wrong view is the belief that things happen for no reason. So, to give a word example, what for you symbolizes someone who's about to achieve success in life. If you think the best predictor of success is a lottery ticket, or a lucky horseshoe, or the fortune left to you by a wealthy uncle, in such a case you are suffering from belief that things happen for no reason. In ancient India, such a worldview was known as ahetukatiti. If, on the contrary, you believe that hard work and carefully kept accounts are likely to predict imminent success, to lead you out to your poverty, then you are probably not subject to this form of wrong view. When our fortune or misfortune depends on fate, then it's no use trying to do anything to change one's fate. Everything appears predetermined. As meditators, we should protect ourselves from such delusions by asking ourselves the reasons why we are doing things before we get down to doing them. If we find that our motivation is no good, we can then avoid doing it. If, on the contrary, the motivation is good, we will then have the confidence to see the action through to completion. Thus, all the lucky charms, and here I don't mean the breakfast cereal and the superstitions in the world, that betray magical thinking should be recognized as incompatible with meditation and therefore be avoided. The fifth form of wrong view is the belief that action has no reaction. So, to give a word example, suppose you were to shoplift some soap from your local supermarket. Which of the following would you fear the most? Getting caught in the act of stealing, or stealing the wrong brand of soap? In either of these cases, you would be suffering from the belief that action has no reaction. In ancient India, such a worldview is known as akiriyaditi. If, on the contrary, your main fear is that your actions will make you more vulnerable to someone stealing your soap in the future, then you're probably not subject to this form of wrong view. Some people believe that their actions don't really matter. It depends what situation you're in, but some people don't even bother trying to change anything because they don't think that any efforts they make will count. It's rather a defeatist attitude, but people end up feeling like they live in an imaginary or a virtual world because they feel reality doesn't respond to them. The flip side of the same view is that people are getting less and less used to taking responsibility for their actions. A sixth form of false view is the belief that changes achieved may be reversed at any time. So, to give a worked example, what excuses do you tend to make to yourself when you get too lazy to meditate? In the case that you're suffering from the belief that changes achieved may be reversed at any time, the sort of excuses you might include in your repertoire might be things like sleeping is the same as meditation but in a different posture. In ancient India, such a worldview was known as uchetaditi. However, if, on the contrary, the sort of excuses you have for not getting as much meditation done as you'd hoped would be something like unavoidable responsibilities for your family, that would probably indicate that you are not subject to this form of wrong view. Unless it were the case that you can get to a point where you don't fall back anymore, it would be a little bit demoralizing for us who try so hard to improve our meditation. At a certain point, it needs to become a permanent part of you. It needs to become stable rather than just a passing, fickle state in your mind. A seventh form of false view is the belief that sin is physical. So, to give a worked example, some people like to donate blood. Supposing you disagree with giving blood, what would be your reason? In the case you are suffering from the belief that sin is physical, you will likely be afraid of passing on your sins to others by physical contamination. In ancient India, such a worldview is known as Attakila Metanuyoko. If, on the contrary, the sort of reasoning you'd use for not giving blood is more along the lines of, I'm afraid of transmitting viruses to other people, then you are probably not subject to this form of wrong view. Those subscribing to this sort of delusion believe that impurities reside in the body and not in the mind. Historically, they believed that you could only purify yourself by bathing in the river Ganges on full moon days. They believed they could wash away their sins with river water. The extension of such thinking is that you can only release the purity of mind by subduing the body through self-mortification, like sleeping on beds of nails. Although such people feel that there is some point in spiritual practice, in fact they are focusing their efforts in the wrong place. And an eighth and final form of false view is total intransigence. So, to give a word example, suppose all your life you've been paying tax at the maximum rate and you never realize that you might be entitled to a tax reduction. If someone lets you know that you may be entitled to a reduction, how would you react to the advice? In the case you're suffering from total intransigence, the sort of response you will have is to argue back or ignore the advice and pretend you did not hear. In ancient India, such a worldview is known as niyata-ditthi. If, on the contrary, you are open to new ideas and whether the advice is correct or not, to try out the advice to see if it's true, then you're probably not subject to this form of wrong view. The most serious form of false view is the sort of false view that obscures realization of one's own worldview. One believes in one's false views without any shadow of a doubt. Such a type of false view is particularly insidious and leaves the door wide open to all sorts of harmful consequences. So the reason I've gone into such detail on these forms of wrong view is that if you are aware of your wrong views, they lose a lot of their power over you. If you look for meaning in the wrong places, then you may end up with the weird attitudes to life like the 8 which I have highlighted. And that will undermine your efforts in meditation even before you've made a start. So before our meditation today, I'm going to tell you the combination of 2 stories from a place in the Buddhist scriptures known as the Payasi Sutta. Once upon a time, there were 2 men who were friends, and they traveled to the countryside and found a big pile of pig dung. Both thought it would be quite good as manure, so they each filled a large bag with the dung and lifted it onto their shoulders and walked towards the next town. Along the way, they found plenty of abandoned cotton threads. One of them suggested that they should get rid of the pig dung and take up the cotton threads instead. The other one disagreed for the reason that he had already carried the pig dung a long way, and he didn't want to give it up so easily. The man who did not change his opinion still carried the dung, but the other smarter one, who was open to change, carried the cotton threads as they continued on their trip. Then they arrived at another village and found pieces of cotton cloth left along the road. The thoughtful man told his friend that cotton thread was only valuable if it could be woven into cloth. But now they had found ready-made cotton cloth, they should give up their load and take the cloth instead. The thoughtful man then dropped the threads and took up the cloth, while the other one still carried the dung, thinking there was no need to fix something that isn't broken. The 2 men then traveled to other villages and found steel, tin, bronze, silver, and eventually gold, respectively, along the way. The thoughtful man uptraded on the value of his load every time he discovered a more valuable treasure. On the way home, it rained heavily. The dung that the man was carrying became wet and it oozed through the bag to cover the guy. So, eventually, stinking and filthy, the man kept on carrying the bag on his shoulder nonetheless. Although he was criticized by passers-by for being out of his mind, he replied to them that the reason he did not discard the dung was because it was free. Ultimately, the smarter man brought home gold, while the other brought home mere pig dung. The relatives and friends of the man who brought back dung were disgusted with the fruits of his journey, not least the smell. On the other hand, the relatives and friends of the man who brought back the gold congratulated him for his decision to give up other things and choose the gold. So this is a story which illustrates the false view of intransigence. You should make sure you avoid getting entrenched in wrong view, like the farmer who carried the dung on his shoulder. So to this end, before we go any further today to look at some of the features of right view, we take the opportunity to settle ourselves for some meditation. And if you'd like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now as you listen to my guidance. If you're ready, start by closing your eyes very gently. Close your eyes in much the same way you might close your eyes to go to sleep. Find a comfortable sitting position for yourself. You can sit on the floor with the support of a cushion or a pillow, or you can sit on a chair or on a meditation mat, wherever your feeling tells you that you'll meditate best. Notice the flow of your in-breath as it follows down into your lungs and down to the center of your diaphragm. And let the sense of relaxation expand from within you, as if you are inundated by a tide of relaxation. And the first thing we do is what's known as a body scan, which means scanning down through the whole of the body, relaxing each and every muscle as we go. We start at our forehead, relaxing our eyebrows and our eyelids. And even the way we close our eyes is quite important because it sets the scene for the whole of the meditation ahead. Sometimes it's as if we haven't completely closed our eyes. It's as if our upper and lower eyelashes are just touching gently together. We let the muscles of our face become soft, especially relaxing our jaw, taking care that we're not clenching our teeth together. And we relax our shoulders, letting them drop to their natural height. Relax both arms, forearms, and our hands and fingers as they rest gently in our lap. Continuing on down, we relax all the muscles of our torso, chest, trunk, across our belly, both legs, all the way down to our feet and our toes, till eventually the whole of our body feels as if it becomes light in weight or has disappeared into the atmosphere around us, so that we have no more worries about our body anymore. As we turn our attention inward, this time to spend a few moments relaxing the mind, letting go of any worries or concerns on our mind, not letting our mind drift to regrets in our past or plans for the future, even resolutions. But keeping our mind in the present moment. And we conjure up in our mind a sense of happiness and joy, as if happiness and joy were tiny particles, completely filling the body and mind. There we imagine our body has been transformed into a sort of hollow cavity or transparent shell with nothing on the inside. For some of you be meditating longer, it may be as if the body has disappeared completely and is just like inhabiting some great empty space of your own creation. And for those of you who are new to meditation, you might like to recall the image of a bright full moon, or a shining sun, or a star down at the center of your body, as if you were breathing it down slowly until it comes to rest at the deepest point of your breath, or as if you were gently swallowing that bright object down until it reaches the pit of your stomach. Just imagine it and it's already there. Doesn't matter if it's clear, well focused, even if it's vague, we can work with that. Even if it's a feeling, we can also work with a feeling. It might be a moon-shaped object with a tiny diamond sparkling at its center, which may give a slightly different feeling. And you can tell by yourself observing the feeling and the happiness derived from that inner object, with or without the bright diamond. If you're a frequent meditator, it won't take you long to reconnect with that inner light. Let inner light, inner brightness pervade the whole body. The origin of the bright light is always at the center of the body, the light of serenity. And this time we will take this knowledge a little bit further. Allow the diamond light to shine on through like a perpetual flame of peace, shining through the whole body of ours. And we relax further still, deeper into contentment, into the luminescence on the inside of us. If you're a regular meditator and you've reached a point where you can reconnect with the light at any time you want, all you need to do is make a feather light touch at your center to reconnect with the light. You find you can stay with the brightness inside any time you want. And at this point, there's no such thing as darkness when we close our eyes anymore. It's as if we don't see the outside, but inside is bright all the time. The bright object you imagine at the center is a real connection from the world outside to that serene world on the inside. It's a connection which is beyond what we would logically expect. Every time we connect through this point, there's an overwhelming sense of contentment. Sometimes the inner object can be bright, sometimes it's dim. But don't force it to become bright or constrain the brightness that you already have. Instead of trying to hem in the brightness, allow the object on the inside to be free to shine forth, or give that inner feeling of well-being, freedom to expand without limits. The meditation experience will unfold itself in a way that keeps on deepening the path. If you find yourself saying to yourself, "Oh, that is it," remind yourself it's not always going to be like this. Whatever needs attention in meditation will come if you make space for it, but not if there is a should or an ought in the sentence. It should be more of an invitation to that inner experience. Make sure your inner experience is your friend rather than a stranger to you. Energize yourself to listen to the inner experience with the sensitive ear and tender heart of a parent attending a child. If you can listen with that sensitive ear and tender heart to the inner life, you will discover the true nature of your being, which is vast and complex, with amazing capacities for self-regulation and healing. With a sincere heart, let today's meditation experience be the light before dawn that foretells the manifestation of the true core of your being, where insight and wisdom become naturally available to you, whatever and whenever it needs to be called upon. Don't feel resigned to any inner experience you have, rather than accepting it. Acceptance makes an embodied space around your experience, allowing it to change. Don't constrain the experience. Don't intellectualize. When we feel things in our body, there's a natural sense of care elicited. Because we have to spend so long with our attention externalized, everything within us is yearning to be more interior, just to discover what we have been neglecting for so long. So keep checking in with yourself as to what your deepest intention is. Our deepest awareness can use meditation as a vehicle to recognize itself and its luminosity, its compassion, allowing us to come to the fullness of being, and to make sure our ego doesn't focus our mind unskillfully. So we remain fresh, honest, and gentle in our practice, occupying a space that nourishes our natural well-being for a few more moments in silence. to use no force at all. Sometimes the inner object may be visible. Sometimes it may be hidden. It comes and goes. But when it returns, welcome it back with love. Recall the existence of the inner object with love and compassion. Very soon it will come back to the center in the middle of the brightness again. So we continue with that overwhelming feeling of relaxation, in touch with the brightness that nourishes our inner being. And we remember to share this kind of bright light by radiating the sphere of brightness in all directions around, expanding the sphere of brightness from the bright diamond light outwards. The sphere of brightness grows bigger and bigger all the time in an endless process. We allow the realness to touch us on the deepest level, at the axis of the mind, as we remain at our center for just a few more moments in silence until we come to the appropriate time. Buddhanupavena, Sappadhammanupavena, Sappasangkhanupavena, Sattha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position before gently finishing your practice. So to return to the topic of our Dhamma talk today, there was a comprehensive book about Buddhist views written by Paul Fuller in 2005, which described the countless possibilities for a wrong view. What was less obvious from this book is that the number of right views is much more limited, and perhaps easier to remember. Right view is based on 4 articles of faith in Buddhism found in the scriptures in the Anguttara Nikaya and the Vibhanka. And they are confidence in the law of karmic action or Kamma Sattha, belief in the consequences of actions or Vipaka Sattha, belief in the individual ownership of action or Kammasakata Sattha, and confidence in the enlightenment of the Buddha or Tathagata Bodhisattva. These can be elaborated into 10 types of right view. In other words, what Buddhists are supposed to believe, or that they are at least working on trying to believe. These 10 are derived from the Apannaka Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya. Sadly, these ended up as no more than a footnote in Paul Fuller's 250-page book. Fortunately, our main teacher in Thailand, the Venerable Dattachiwo, has drawn on our particular attention to these 10. For successful spiritual practice, he has written an entire book elaborating on them, which I will summarize now so that you know what you're looking for. The first category relates to views concerning sharing. The main issue dealt with in this first item of right view is that generosity is fruitful, namely in releasing the giver from the clutches of stinginess and selfishness. At the same time, having such a core value about the world reinforces the mutual compassion between the giver and the receiver. The second category relates to views concerning welfare work. The main issue dealt with in this second item of right view is that social welfare is fruitful, which will help to release the giver further from the clutches of greed. At the same time, having such a core value about the world widens one's compassion towards one's fellow man. The third category relates to views concerning the honoring of virtue. The main issue dealt with in this third item of right view is that respecting those worthy of respect is fruitful, which will help recognize and celebrate those who exemplify good behavior in society. The third category relates to views concerning the outcomes of good and bad actions a person has done. The main issue dealt with in this fourth item of right view is that the retribution of karmic action, namely that sooner or later the consequences of the actions we've done will catch up with us for sure. If the actions have been wholesome, then the consequences will also be wholesome. But if the actions have been unwholesome, then so will be the consequences. The fifth category relates to views concerning the reality of the present existence. The main issue dealt with in this fifth item of right view is that this world exists, or this world is of great benefit, because the world is eminently suitable for cultivating good deeds. However, our time in the world is limited, so that we have to use our time to the full, intelligently and efficiently, in order to make the most of life. The sixth category relates to views concerning the world to come. The main issue dealt with in this sixth item of right view is that there is an afterlife, or, to put it another way, death is not the end of the story. The quality of our existence in the world to come depends on the good and bad karma we have done ourselves, chiefly in the present existence. Thus, no one can afford to be reckless as to their behavior in the present lifetime. The seventh category relates to views concerning our debt of gratitude to our mother. The main issue dealt with in this seventh item of right view is that a mother exists, or we have a debt of gratitude to our mother for her virtues towards us. Thus, we ought to take all opportunities within our ability to repay our debt of gratitude to our mother. The eighth category relates to views concerning our debt of gratitude to our father. The main issue dealt with in this eighth item of right view is that a father exists, or we have a debt of gratitude to our father, in just the same way that we have a debt of gratitude to our mother. The ninth category relates to views concerning spontaneously arising beings. The main issue dealt with in this ninth item of right view is that spontaneously arising beings exist, or beings outside the human and animal realms exist, and they are a very real possibility for our future rebirth in realms beyond what meets the naked eye. The 10th and last category relates to views concerning the existence of wise, enlightened ones. Main issue dealt with in this 10th item of right view is that wise, enlightened ones exist, or those who have attained Buddhahood or Arahantship exist. Such people are able to have meditational insight into the reality of this world and the next, through their own earnest striving and through compassion, having shared with less perceptive beings like ourselves. In this connection, I'd like to relate a classic Buddhist story which is set in a monastery that has fallen on hard times. In the temple, there are mostly elderly monks, and they are a little bit caught up in their habits and rituals and routines, so it's kind of like a dying order. The temple does not have much pizzazz or creativity or vitality to it. So at some point, the dispirited abbot went off into the wilderness to seek guidance from an oracle, a wise woman, who lived in solitude in a small hut in the forest. After some meditation together, the abbot shared his worries about the dying temple, and the oracle admitted, "Well, I don't have any advice. All I can tell you is that the Divine One, the Bodhisattva, which means the awakened being, is already living amongst you." So he returns to the temple and he tells the monks, "Sorry, there's no advice from the oracle, but this is what I found out." So what happened was, in the days and weeks that followed, the old monks pondered that the Bodhisattva was amongst them, and it sparked their inspiration. Their way of relating to each other started changing, with each of them wondering, well, maybe it's you, or maybe you're the Bodhisattva. And they started looking closer and paying more attention, noticing the light that came through in each of their brethren. Maybe the ways another monk was particularly patient or generous or kind. On the off chance that they might be the Bodhisattva, they started treating themselves with more respect and kindness. And people that visited the temple noticed the changing atmosphere. They felt kind of drawn to the radiance that was emanating from the monastery, and in time more and more asked to join the monastic order, and within some years the monastery again started to thrive, more filled with service and celebration and love. So, what happened? What can we intuit about what the oracle told the abbot on this case, that the Bodhisattva is living amongst you? If you take the deeper meaning of the word Bodhisattva, in fact it means the awakened potential inside every person. And yet, the reminder helped them to begin to pay attention to the latent potential in every person and wake it up. So, as individuals, each of us in our community, we need to trust in our innate capacities. When we start sensing our potentials, that trust actually helps us to wake up. It helps us to evolve, which is why the final item of right view, believing in the reality of an enlightened being or the enlightened potential within every one of us, is so transformative for our spiritual destiny. So we would like to avoid wrong view and nurture right view within ourselves. Of course, if we examine ourselves for right view, we'll find that we are stronger on some of the 10 than others. The idea of meditation practice is that although we might start out with an imperfect complement of right view, little by little we can move from a place where each of the 10 items of right view are merely spiritual hopes to being guiding principles and convictions for our lives. If we act as if for long enough, eventually it will call forth the true conviction of right view. Later we will be able to prove them to ourselves through meditational insight. Whether they are mere hopes or developed convictions, they pave the way to progress in spiritual transformation. So there are 6 ways in which you can overcome false view: cultivating wisdom, meditating more, associating with the wise, overcoming doubts, giving teachings the benefit of the doubt, and regularly examining yourself for false views. The first piece of advice for overcoming wrong view is to cultivate wisdom. The darkness of ignorance can be dispelled only by light. If you can only manage as much light as you can get by lighting a match, the radius of the amount which you can see will not be very wide, but it's better than nothing. At least you can avoid standing on a snake. If you can manage the brightness of a candle, you'll be able to see a little further still. Apart from not treading on anything dangerous, you'll start to see the lay of the land around you. If you have as much brightness as the brightness of daylight, the possible dangers will soon all disappear. All possible dangers in life are only unknown to us because they are concealed by the darkness of ignorance. In meditation, the opposite of ignorance, which means wisdom, is often used synonymously with penetrating brightness. We all know that such knowledge can chase away the darkness of ignorance, but where can we get the brightness from? Can we put some batteries in our mind and light it up? Can you light a candle in your mind? Can you put the moon or the sun in the center of your body? The only way you can bring about brightness in the mind is by cultivating positivity, which will bring brightness to the mind with wisdom as its byproduct. We will begin to understand the nature of the world as it really is. Only when we have developed our wisdom to the full will we escape from all ignorance. The caliber of the more advanced sorts of knowledge requires brightness equivalent to compressing the brightness of 100 suns into a single spot. It is by virtue of such brightness that we can identify and uproot the defilements normally hidden in the mind. For those who are new to meditation, the brightness is not continuous, or it's dim like a glowworm. Such brightness is not yet sufficient to identify defilements, but it's a good start. Ignorance will eventually be overcome by wisdom, and when wisdom arises, it will allow us to overcome or cut out defilements previously active in the mind. The second piece of advice for overcoming wrong view is to meditate more. Meditation can be thought of as a way of training the mind to become wiser. There are a variety of ways to train the mind, and these include reading spiritual books, hearing wisdom talks, and meditation itself. Meditation and other forms of mental training have the effect of generating radiance in the mind, insulating the mind against anxiety, reducing wandering, and bringing peace. Whenever the mind is released from the dark shroud of ignorance, wisdom will arise in the mind through the brightness generated by mental cultivation. A third piece of advice in overcoming wrong view is to associate with the wise, to be around people who have a clear idea about the realities of life. The community aspect of spiritual work is an important one. If we are a lone spiritual person alongside a whole bunch of skeptical people, then usually our inspiration to work on ourselves will not last for very long. So the community aspect is quite helpful for nourishing your spiritual motivation. You will notice that all religious traditions have a way to get people together every 7 days to recharge their religious inspiration. This is why Christians tend to go to church every Sunday. It's why Muslims go to their mosque every Friday. It's why Buddhists tend to go to the temple every quarter moon day. Why? Because after 7 days you can find that your inspiration starts to run down and your motivation starts to get entangled with a lot of false views and excuses. So having a community aspect is something which can help you to keep on track if you are trying to upgrade yourself or the reliability of your right views. As meditation brings you more closely in contact with balance within yourself, the negative influences from the outside world will have less and less sway over you. You'll have more freedom and independence in your thinking, and this will be a direct inroad into the third sort of knowledge, the knowledge that comes from the still mind. The fourth piece of advice for overcoming wrong view is to overcome your doubts. When doubts arise in your mind, it's often helpful to listen to wisdom talks. If you feel there's something missing in your meditation practice, or you doubt something that you've heard, or if you come across inconsistencies in advice, then it's a good opportunity to listen to a wisdom talk. Sometimes we understand how to be a good person in theory, but when we actually apply our knowledge, we are seized by doubt. Sometimes we don't see the immediate benefits of our good deeds. If you have doubts, then go to find a teacher or someone more experienced on the spiritual path than yourself. Overcoming your doubts will help you to gain more unshakable right view. Even nascent spiritual hope is rather like a sword, which helps you to cut away the unnecessary doubts and fears. A fifth piece of advice for overcoming wrong view is to give teachings the benefit of the doubt. Even if you don't understand spiritual teachings immediately, since our experience or refinement of mind is not enough to be able to see the benefit of a teaching, we may need to suspend our judgment so that we can try out new ideas first and see whether it works out. If after a certain period of due diligence it still doesn't work out, then you can try some other alternative. Being able to give something the benefit of the doubt, although it takes quite a lot of courage, because sometimes it's rather like taking a leap in the dark, but it's something which you can do as part of an educated guess, perhaps, where you can open yourself up to controlled risk-taking. But sometimes you do need to try something before you can make up your mind and overcome your doubts about it. A sixth and final piece of advice for overcoming wrong view, now that you know how to recognize them, is to regularly check yourself for wrong views, because illusion only is still illusion because it is not investigated. All of what I've said this session is important if you feel that you aren't fully in control of the way in which you are forming a worldview, or if you feel that there are blind spots in your own perspective about what you're doing with your life or your own path of spiritual transformation. Our views of the world can enable or hinder us in overcoming questions, especially the eternal questions about life, such as, what am I here for? What is my purpose in life? Where did I come from? When I die, where am I going to go? Is there anything to go to after death? Or is death the end of the story? Or what does it really mean to be alive, and so on? Some people, of course, never spend time on such questions, but for most people there is some sort of spiritual quest, and people find different ways of trying to get answers to these questions. If we find ourselves getting bogged down in very negative attitudes to life, then it can cause us to have depression and low self-esteem. So we have a right to be aware of and choose the views that we subscribe to. Otherwise, we'll be unable to have a fulfilling and independent life. By changing your attitudes to life for a more positive and hopeful set of worldviews, it will help you to take the full opportunity to find answers to the deeper questions of life. This is why in the Pubanga Sutta, the Buddha described the importance of right view as follows. Just as the dawn is the forerunner and first indication of the rising of the sun, so is right view the forerunner and first indication of wholesome states to come. Most people in our consumerist society have an aim in life no higher than the exclusively material level. Their prosperity and wealth seems the most important thing in their life. They envy the rich who lead a life of decadence. In reality, a lifestyle built upon such a foundation is one of wrong view, because it has no preparation for higher spiritual values. It is for all these reasons that when we set our aim in life, we need to have right view as our compass to bring ultimate meaning into our lives. So let me finish up with a quick mention about temple support and a news update about the availability of meditation teaching in English from our temple. For those of you who like to visit the temple in Azusa to bring offerings, please be informed that there is a new site for temple offering in the parking lot next to the main temple building between 10 and 11 a.m. each day. If you have trouble with the passcode on the gate or wish to visit at a different time, please call Jenny on 562-716-2961. There'll be a monk on standby in PPE to receive the offering and to give a short blessing for visitors. English-speaking monks will be on duty on Wednesdays and Saturdays. As for temple donations, you can see the details on the ticker tape for those wishing to support the temple without attending in person. Needless to say, the whole temple would like to rejoice in the merits of all taking the opportunity to support the temple in this way. Meditation, particularly in this COVID era, is very valuable to help us cope with the extended lockdown. And in this respect, here at the temple, although there are still no face-to-face teaching sessions for the interim, you can access Dhamma teachings in English at the YouTube channel called Peace Point Meditation or the Facebook page of Peace Point Meditation. For those of you who have been following my talks, you may be interested to subscribe to a YouTube channel which I have recently set up in my own name, which can be found by searching for Ven.Nicholas Thanissaro on YouTube, where I've uploaded more than 100 clips of meditation, Dhamma talks, funeral talks, talks for children, and so forth. Meanwhile, there is a streamlined schedule by popular request for 2021 on Peace Point. Every Sunday morning, you now get me with live material and archived material on alternating Sundays. Venerable Sopon now appears every Thursday evening. Meanwhile, Peace Breaks from Peace Point are broadcast every Monday and Wednesday between 7 and 7:30 p.m. There is a silent meditation broadcast each Friday between 7 and 8 p.m. For the benefit of families listening in, there's also a special show for children in English known as Shining Stars that goes out between 7:30 and 8 p.m. every Monday evening with bedtime stories and meditation short enough to keep the attention of younger listeners. Outside of the live streams and on-demand programming, there is also the newly updated MindGem app, which you can download for free, allowing you to listen to meditation and Dhamma talks in English on your cell phone, even when you are offline. So this session we have looked at the topic of some things worth believing. For my next live session online with you, which will, fingers crossed, be a week on Sunday morning, we'll be looking at something along the lines of stress management. So for good measure, I would like to remind viewers that even better than posting thank you or great talk or sadhu in the broadcast comments, you can email your questions about meditation or what you've heard in the lecture to the email address as you can see spelled out in the slide. And I will do my best to answer these on my next session. In the meantime, try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Also, in spite of the cabin fever of lockdown, may you be well and truly able to break free from the traps of wrong view, and on the contrary, to cultivate spiritual hope and ultimately right view in your lives. So for today, this is me, Ven.Nicholas, Thanissaro, signing off for this session. So long, folks, and stay safe.
The global Makat candle lighting for world peace via Zoom is taking place this Makat Busha Day on the 26th of February 2021 at Wat Prat Tamagaya in Pathum Thani, Thailand. On this candle lighting ceremony, people from all over the world will come together by way of Zoom to gently close their eyes to meditate and to cultivate positive energy from the center of their body. And through the stillness of the mind arising from meditation, we will spread the collective pure energy and good wishes to all people and beings throughout the world to be free from suffering, surrounded by love and kindness, and experience true happiness. The power of the collective energy generated from the center of our body will radiate in all directions, and the sincere intention from our still and pristine minds to cleanse and brighten our world will make it a healthier, more peaceful, and more compassionate place for everyone. The cumulative luminescence created from each individual candle lit by everyone around the world will give rise to the light of world peace. We kindly invite everyone to be a part of this special and auspicious event by joining us on the global candle lighting ceremony via Zoom. We look forward to seeing you this Makat Busha Day.